So you want to decriminalize drugs, which will make drugs more accessible to people who are already addicted to drugs, which will then exacerbate the already insurmountable drug addiction problem.
Okay, if you don't think it's time to end the war on drugs, you are a complete and total dumbass, and that is the nicest way I could possibly say that. The war on drugs in both Portugal and the United States started out with kind of a similar pathway, with very, very harsh punishments by the criminal justice system. But then Portugal realized that addiction is a disease and it needs to be treated like a public health crisis, not a criminal justice issue. And so in 1999, they decriminalized drugs, and because of that, they saw a decrease of drug misuse by 18%. Meanwhile, the United States kept on with harsh punishments for drug offenders, and now the United States is currently having its worst addiction epidemic ever. A lot of research has been done on this topic, both in this country and worldwide, and all of that research shows that prohibition just doesn't work. Remember when we tried that with alcohol? The war on drugs has led to an increase in overdoses and also fostered and sustained the creation of powerful drug cartels. Opioids literally change how your brain works. People who are suffering from addiction are going to do drugs whether they're illegal or not. They will find a way to get them. And so you have to treat people who are suffering from addiction. You have to treat the addiction. Making drugs less accessible literally does not help, and we have decades and decades worth of data that proves this. The war on drugs first started under Richard Nixon. And years after his presidency ended, one of his top aides literally admitted that the war on drugs was basically to go after the anti-war left and black people. He admitted that if they got the public to associate marijuana with hippies and black people with heroin, that they could then criminalize those drugs very heavily and disrupt those communities. And we see how the war on drugs has disproportionately affected people of color in America. It was literally intended to do that. It wasn't about making things safer, and it wasn't about treating people's addiction. It was just about throwing them in jail. And then when people who are suffering from addiction get out of prison, they immediately go back to doing drugs because we didn't actually treat their addiction or give them any of the resources they needed to help. And researchers in this field, doctors, neuroscientists, all agree that we should decriminalize drugs. America's drug laws are what is causing the problem. Drug addiction is a public health crisis, not a criminal justice issue.